continue to wait on guidance from New York State, and they haven't been very forthcoming in sending out that information, which has put districts in difficult situations where they've had to make decisions for themselves. Now, I think many of you are aware that when this district was given an opportunity to make a decision for themselves, they did that. We made that decision on a Friday afternoon in regards to a letter that was sent from the governor and the Department of Health to the CDC. Based on everyone I spoke with Friday afternoon, the decision in regards to mask usage was going to be left up to the local school districts and their county Department of Health. Sunday, as we all know, I got a memo from the state education department saying nothing has changed. That is not the case. We need to continue to follow the guidance. So here is where we are. And what I would say to you, continue to communicate with us, continue to send me emails. I hope you know I do read them, I do respond, and they make a big difference. It's important for me and the board to know how our community stands on some of these very, very difficult issues that we face today. So with that, thank you very much, President Lumia.
Thank you, Dr. Punk. 5.01, recognition comments from Board of Education. Jim, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Lumia. I just want to say congratulations to all the students who are graduating this year, all the students who are moving up from this school in Van Wyck to the high schools, and all the students that are moving up from the elementary schools to the junior high. Really appreciate your hard work and keep going.
Eddie?
I concur with Trustee Spencer. Just like to add to that, let's also, we've said this several times before, the job that, all of our faculty has done, all of our support staff, all of our senior administrators, field and, all our facilities, grounds, field and maintenance, custodians, TAs, monitors, psychologists, and everything else, again, as a community, is just, something that we've never had to experience before, but everybody, stepped up, did their job, great support. There were some challenges, but I think we came through, in a positive way. The other thing I'd like to say is, let's also thank the parents, because if it wasn't for the support of the parents, although we had a lot of, obstacles that were out there and things that parents had to deal with childcare and work and everything else. But for the most part, parents found a way and working with the district to try to do the best for their kids. And as Dr. Bonk said, hopefully we don't have to go through this ever again. And I'd also like to take a moment to give Dr. Bonk some incredible accolades for coming into a situation that I don't know how anybody to lead a district could prepare for something like this halfway through the process. So I'd like to thank you for stepping up, dealing with a situation that I'm sure you've had basically no training. There isn't anything in your doctoral degree or how to be a superintendent that covers this. But the leadership, the way you took control, the way you made decisive decisions, and again, not everybody agreed, and that's understandable. But I think for the most part, I think we came through this in a much better situation. I think the kids were able to get more education and more in-person learning than we thought we'd be able to do. So I want to thank you personally, and again, also senior staff that you work with. But I think with your leadership, you made this year as best as it could be, and hopefully the rest of this week we'll continue with some great ceremonies and graduations for all the kids to have something to celebrate. So again, thank you for your leadership in guiding this district this past year.
Keith?
Thank you, Trustee Sloshower.
Thank you. I just want to again congratulate all the retirees and all the graduates and their family, and also to the students. Have an enjoyable, safe summer, and take a little time out every day to stay academically ready for September.
Linda?
Oops. I don't really have anything prepared this week. I just want to say that it's poignant and bittersweet that this is my last meeting with you guys. I congratulate all the retirees. I congratulate all the seniors. I look forward to being at graduation. And I have to say, Dr. Bonk, I definitely concur with your idea of having remote and in-person teaching separate. As a former teacher, I cannot even imagine having that kind of divided attention and what it is that children really need in terms of focus and proximity. So I think that that's a really great. And, you know, if we need to have a remote option, then I think it needs to be a separate one. So I think it's, you know, really good, great leadership. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and that's the direction we're moving in.
Carrie?
Good evening, everyone. I want to echo Eddie's sentiments. My accolades tonight actually go out to the parents and the community members who are proactively becoming more of a voice in their children's education. As parents, we are really kind of supposed to provide some basic human needs: food, shelter, clothing. But there are basic human emotional needs as well. As far as the parents are concerned, as far as I'm concerned, those basic human emotional needs are that we're being heard and that we matter. For me, to you guys, having been a parent just a month ago, before I was a board member, still a parent, but not just a parent in the audience anymore, knowing that I'm being heard. You are being heard. Dr. Bonk hears you. We all hear you. I hope you know that you are being heard. And I just think in closing, what I want to share is that Spock from Star Trek in The Wrath of Khan in 1982 said, "Logic clearly dictates that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few." And I think on the heels of this awful pandemic, we need to start remembering and considering the needs of the many. And the needs of the few, we protected them. And we actually did that by the masses. Some may agree or disagree with how we did that, but we did it. And now it's time that we listen to the needs of the many. And parents, we need you to continue to be a voice in your children's education. Call more parents, have them show up. Today for this, for masks, for vaccines, but moving forward when the dust settles and the smoke clears. Thank you, parents.
Marie?
Yes, I want to congratulate the graduates. I didn't get to do this last year, my first year, to sit here and say congratulations to all the graduates, to all the retirees, to all the families. It was remote last year and it just wasn't quite the same. So I missed that out on that. I would also like to congratulate all of our staff from grounds and janitors and monitors and librarians all the way up to our superintendent for an amazing job this year. It was a tough year and it was definitely different. Made my first year fun, but I'm glad we're getting back to a more normal setting, and I'm very much looking forward to actually going to graduation this year and enjoying Mr. Lumia's speeches. It's been something I've been waiting 18 months for, so we'll be waiting.
I feel sorry for you, Marie.
Don't be. I'm waiting for it. Thank you.
Peggy?
Okay. Well, I think people just about covered everything. It's certainly a pleasure to be able to go to award ceremonies again and the graduations and actually see the students and the retirees recognition. And my congratulations to all the graduating students, to the people moving up from 8th grade to high school, from elementary school to junior high, to all the people retiring, and our deepest thanks to all the people who worked so hard this year in the district. As has been mentioned, everyone, the teachers, administrators, pupil personnel, monitors, custodians, lunchroom, bus drivers, drivers. I don't want to enumerate all of them because I'm sure I'll leave somebody out, and I don't mean that because I know everybody worked above and beyond the requirements of their job. And I know Dr. Bonk told me that he said, nobody complains, they just ask, what more can I do? How can I help? And also to you parents who found yourselves being teachers this year, also in many cases. And I know my daughter, had to balance a job and also homeschooling during the remote sessions. And I know it's not easy at all. It's not easy for anyone. The teachers found it difficult to do the hybrid program with both remote and in person, and for parents and grandparents and others who stepped in the breach, that was hard too. So thank you to all of you for your work this year, and congratulations. And we're looking forward to a much better next year. Thank you, Dr. Bonk.
As the last comments, I'd like to concur with everything was said. I'd like to congratulate the senior awards recipients at John Jay High School, all the scholar athletes at both schools, and of course, I'd like to congratulate all those individuals who were inducted into Italian Honor Society. So congratulations, and I'm looking forward to the graduations and all those speeches that have to be given. And as Marie said, there's a total of six speeches that have to be done. And I don't know if I should change the speeches so I don't bore anybody. So in any event, I wish you all well. And with that being said, 5.02, reports and from board representatives. The first one is Ms. Johnson, the audit committee report.
Yes, thank you. So on June 7th, we had our audit meeting. It was the last one for this year. I would like to thank Ms. Crandall and Ms. Pedro for all their hard work every year that they put into helping whoever sits as the chairperson for this committee, because they do all the work and we just sit there and take the glory. We were able to interview the Bonadino Group as our annual induction. It was our entrance interview for next year. Even though it's the end of the school year, we do the entrance interview first and the exit interview first for next year. It's weird. But I would like to thank all those that sat on the committee, Mr. Lumia, Mr. Odoms, Mr. Rubin, and Ms. Silva as our community member. And we'll see what happens next year. Thank you. Oh, wait, I could just go right into communications meeting because, I like to be just in order here. Communications meeting was immediately following our audit meeting. We had a wonderful day, Mr. Lumi and I. We were able to sit with Ms. Watkins and Mr. Lokima, and we got to look at some possible new internet Facebook page, or not Facebook pages, website pages. Sorry, give me a second, I got it. And they're going to be showing the board this in the coming future. And I would like to thank Ms. Cahill for, were you on? No, it was Ms. Schweizer that was on that committee. And Mr. Morgan sat in for a while, and Ms. Kellen, always a very good mentor to me, and we were able to have 2 new websites that possibly you guys are going to love. So I look forward to seeing those on the next presentation.
Thank you, Marie. Peggy?
All right.
Goals?
Yes, we had an ad hoc committee to work on board goals for next year. And thank you, Mrs. Johnson and Mr. Odoms, who provided lots of input. We have another meeting, which we're going to hold tomorrow morning, to finalize them, to present them to the new board in the beginning of July. So the idea of board goals, which we all learned when we came on the board, is general, broad goals. And then the administration develops SMART objectives, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time limited, to fulfill those goals. So the board just sets the big goals and the administration gets it down to the nitty-gritty. So that's what we've been doing in that committee.
Capital improvement, Eddie?
If you could indulge me, Mr. Lumia, I'm going to start with municipalities, only because that is very quick, and I have an extensive capital, so I'd like to combine the times, if you don't mind. Unfortunately, on May 10th, the municipality meeting was not held. There were a lot of things going on within the community, and by the time a couple of the town supervisors were able to log on after about 15 or 20 minutes, we had already adjourned. So we anticipate having a follow-up meeting at some point in August, once the new board takes effect come July, and then working that out timeframe with Dr. Bonk's office. So we'd be looking to have an update at that at some point in August. With regards to the Capital Improvement Committee meeting, if everyone could bear with me, it's a bit of an extensive list, but should get this information out. Obviously, we've spoken in the past about the roof damage at John Jay due to the storm. We had several bids come in. We accepted a bid at slightly under $274,000, which was a couple $100,000 less than what we had anticipated. We did get some small relief of roughly about $93,000 from our insurance company, which was a great thing. We really didn't expect that. But like anything else, we were hit with a bit of a unfortunate news. Due to what is transpiring in the world right now, materials are not yet available. So therefore, we cannot immediately start on the repair work. So as soon as materials become available, that will be taken care of. Although we've been assured by the contractor, we shouldn't have any leaking or anything, but unfortunately, the materials are not ready in order to take care of this over the summer. Auditorium Drive, we're in conversations with the town of East Fishkill and the Amazon project about an additional entrance for parent drop-off on Auditorium Drive. There's still some discussion with regards to that and how the structure would be done. And also, we do need state education department approval. So that'll be an ongoing project, and those updates will come as soon as more information is made available. We've had several conversations with regards to the Myers Corners Playground expansion. I'm happy to report that the committee came to a consensus and sent some information to the principal at Myers to review. Hopefully we'll have a go-ahead by the time the next capital meeting, and then we can send that out. Hopefully, again, that material is not going to be, held up as well. But either way, that's probably a 60-day project. So unfortunately, I don't anticipate it being completed by September 9th. If we're lucky, by the end of September, worst case would be October. But as long as everything's okay with the principal, that project should be a go. The committee is also waiting for the 5-year building condition survey. So once we have that, we'll address what major repairs need to be done, and then we'll have some conversations on how we're going to address that in the future. Small projects, as we had mentioned, we do have some leftover money of about $2.2 million after the repair of the roof. We have identified several small projects. Architects are working up some numbers just to keep everybody up to speed with how that works. Anytime we do any work on a building and we want to receive any aid, we have to do some work inside the building as well. So those items are being looked at by our architects. I'm hoping by the time July, August at the latest, we'll have some more information to share with the full board and the community. We had another great conversation, which obviously has become a topic of discussion due to what had transpired with mask wearing during the heat, about air conditioning in all of the classrooms. We bounced around a few different ideas. We also have Mr. McFarland, who has HVAC background, who's also part of the committee and will be joining the full board in July. We bounced around a few ideas, but he was able to convey to us that there's a possibility, a very strong possibility, where we can modify all of the unit ventilators in the classrooms. This is huge for two reasons. One, we're not looking at rooftop air conditioning and then having to do ductwork through buildings. Obviously, if you're looking at this building built in the 1920s, trying to do ductwork through the concrete would be an immense job, and I can't even tell you what the cost would be. So that was a recommendation that he had made. Mr. Bross had also agreed that that's a possibility. So we're going to be further looking into that. Obviously, we have to find out how many 2,000, 3,000 unit ventilators for each classroom. But to modify them, the cost would be, not that it's not going to be expensive because of just the sheer volume, but it's definitely going to be a lot less expensive than trying to do overhead air conditioning units. Please, community, be patient, because that, once again, is a project that's going to have to get SED approval. I cannot say that would be something we'd have ready for next May or June, but possibly within 2 years. There's a strong possibility, but again, we'll have some more information as we get that in. Just a quick update on our Amoresco Energy Performance Project. Amoresco is continuing to replace all the fluorescent bulbs and LED lighting throughout the district, where we started. Also, our solar project. So installation of panels are beginning at Vassar Road. Then it'll be James Evans. Then as well, RCK, Van Wyck, Gayhead, Fishkill Plains, and then Brinkerhoff. Another quick update, as we had spoken in the past, we do have a decommissioned and old boiler that was removed from district office. So we're just waiting on that to be delivered, which we anticipate hopefully by the end of this month. There's no holdups on that. Central Hudson, as we had discussed, is going to be running a gas line, which we can tap into. There will be a slight expense because they will not bring the gas line and hook it up into the building. That'll be an in-house project. Also, a quick thing we've been looking at here at WAP Junior, there were some old tennis courts that we had a lot of overgrowth to and kind of have disappeared within, the forest, so to speak. And we had conversations about cleaning out that area, as the town of Wappingers wanted to partner with us for that, for those tennis courts to be utilized, obviously not only by the students, but by the community. Mr. Bross and his team have identified a better location within the grounds, and we were looking into constructing tennis courts in that particular area. Again, that's an ongoing project, and we'll have further information as that comes about. And one last thing, as Mr. Lumia keeps bringing up, there was an old RCK outdoor for cross-country track that again has been taken over by vegetation. We're looking into trying to see what it would cost to clear out those particular pathways and possibly have that up and running at some future point for the RCK track, since that is on campus. So sorry for being a little bit long-winded, but we did have a very extensive meeting. It was our first in-person meeting, and I got to tell you, it was one of the best meetings we've ever had since, I think, March of 2020. So thank you for your patience.
Ms. Kelland, Dutchess County School Board Association.
All right. The Dutchess County School Boards Association had its last meeting of this school year, and Dr. Bonk was in attendance, and so was Mr. Rubin, since he represents the BOCES board there. We re-elected officers, but we decided that we should continue for another year since we since we just had Zoom meetings this past year, and we had updates, and we're looking for what we would do next year. I'm happy to tell you that since there was not we were not meeting in person or doing many events. The expenditures were less than the budget, which is always happy news. So there will be no dues increases for the districts, and we've held them steady for several years. So we hope to continue that. And I'd like to remind all the school board members that every member of the board is welcome at the meetings. It's not just your official representative, but all of you are welcome to come. They're still on Zoom. They have not decided yet what we're going to be doing for the fall, but as of now, we're still on Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, for the reports. 5.03, appreciation for service on the Board of Education for Rob Rubin and Linda Rappaport. I'd like to read a statement, if you don't mind. As you all know, 2 present board members will no longer be serving on the board. I first want to thank Mr. Rubin, who has diligently served on the board for the last 9 years. During that time, he served on numerous committees such as the Legislative Action Committee, Capital Committee, the Audit Committee, just to mention a few, and has always voted for anything that's beneficial to students and the community. I want to thank him for all his contributions, Just as he's volunteered for Castle Point, I hope he continues volunteering in the district committees. I will miss his friendship, but although sometimes we've had a little disagreement, I totally appreciate his honesty and his belief, and consistent with his beliefs, always stood up for what he believed in. I wish Rob well. As a former mathematics teacher at RCK, I can relate to Mrs. Rappaport, even though her teaching experience was in elementary education. With our numerous talks, I've learned a great deal as to how students are best taught and evaluated at the elementary school level. Our presence on the curriculum committee was appreciated and valued. I will miss her calmness, her analytical skills, and her expertise in the English language. I hope that the district can use her expertise to mentor some of our teachers. I'm sure that our students in our last district where she taught miss her. Just like Mr. Rubin, I hope you consider volunteering both on the policy as well as the curriculum committee. I thank you both for your outstanding service, and I wish you both well. Anything else?
I also would like to thank Mr. Rubin, having had an opportunity to work with him in various roles in the district as John Jay High School principal, assistant superintendent, deputy superintendent, and now superintendent. I certainly appreciate Rob's interest in serving in the best interest of kids, and the fact that he was all over the place, attending numerous events on a regular basis throughout the district. He will be missed. And Ms. Rappaport, it's been a great 3 years having an opportunity to work with you. You have just been tremendous. I have a great deal of respect for you and what you brought to this board, and I would like to thank you for all of your efforts on behalf of our district. It has been greatly appreciated, and you will be missed. Thank you.
Are there any additional comments? Seeing none. Thank you once again, Linda. And of course, Rob was not here. Thank you very much. 5.04, public comments on agenda items. Comments related to agenda items are welcome at this time. Please limit the time of each speaker to 3 minutes. A total of 30 minutes at the beginning of each board meeting is set aside to allow for public comment on agenda items only. Individual comments on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes and are welcomed. Based on the Open Meeting Law and Board Policy 1230, debate or dialogue with board members is not allowed during the meeting. Compliments or complaints about student discipline, specific student issues or personnel must not be addressed during public comment. Comments or questions submitted to the use of public comment form will be sent to the appropriate staff and will be response will be provided within three business days on the district webpage. If you wish to address items related to a school district that are not on tonight's agenda, another comment period is provided at the end of the meeting for that purpose. In the interest of civility and respect for different points of view, clapping, booing, or any disturbance of any kind is not permitted. At this time, comments related to agenda items are welcome. Please state your name and the agenda items you're speaking on.
Good evening. My name is Ann Laval. I would like to address this agenda item, the public comment item. Every meeting, the board president admonishes the parents, as if they're children, that what they're allowed to say, how long they're allowed to speak, what they're not allowed to say, what they're not allowed to do. There are parents here regularly with concerns that they're told they're not allowed to address. There are issues that you are being contacted about with phone calls and emails and presence here at the meeting. And it begs the question, why aren't they on the agenda? They're the concerns that the community wants to see addressed by the board. And rather than put them on the agenda and allow the public discussion of the issues that the community is concerned with, you leave them off of the agenda and then shake your finger at the public and tell them they're not allowed to discuss them. We need to discuss them. They're important and they should be on the agenda. I'd also like to address, I think it's 7.2, the code of conduct. You allotted 10 minutes for the code of conduct. The code of conduct is based largely on DASA guidance, the Dignity for All Students Act, which, if any of you have actually read it, is anything but. It's riddled with highly charged social and political ideologies, which are imposing on our children. We say we're not putting it into the curriculum, but by putting it into the behavioral policies, we're requiring our children to behave according to them and to adopt ideologies consistent with them. They're very highly charged issues. And again, we should be having the discussion about them before we send them home for parents to sign and implement them kind of under the radar through the policy and forcing them to become part of ultimately the curriculum. We should be having extensive discussions, real policy setting that this community wants unity. They respect the dignity of all people. We want a policy that represents that, and this one doesn't. We should be having the discussion. We should be having an extensive discussion about what the policy should be. We should not be having a 10-minute rubber stamp of the garbage that came out of Albany. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Ciro DeLuo. I am a living man and I'm a creation of God. And I want to follow up with the living woman who just spoke with me. There is no contract that is signed between a living man or a living woman that anyone says that we do not have to talk about what we do not want to at this meeting. So that policy is not applicable to any constituent here because there is no consent for that. And to follow up on that, I do not have any children in the school district, but I know child abuse when I see it. I did not have a childhood like this when these students were compelled to wear these masks against their constitutional rights. And now I just want to read something for you from American Jurisprudence, Book 16, Constitutional Law, Section 98. No emergency justifies the violation of any of the provisions of the United States Constitution or the state's constitutions. Now I want to read that again. American Jurisprudence Book 16, Constitutional Law Section 98. No emergency justifies the violation of any of the provisions of the United States Constitution or the state's constitution. So my question is, when the board compelled these living men and living women, young children, to wear masks, was that compatible with the United States Constitution? Was that compatible with the United States Constitution to compel a living man or living woman child to wear a mask? No comment. Did anyone know that the Constitution cannot be violated because of an emergency of power? So now I want to go one step further for you guys, because you obviously violated the constitutional rights of these children. If living men and living women, adults, want to wear these suffocation devices, that's completely on you. But we're not putting them on children. Supervisory liability may be imposed under Section 1983 when an official has actual or constructive notice of unconstitutional practice and demonstrates gross negligence or deliberate indifference by failing to act. By compelling the living men and living women children to wear a suffocation device, that shows gross negligence. And I want to repeat that again from the top. Supervisory liability may be imposed under United States Code, Title 42, Section 1983. Supervisory liability. The supervisors, if I'm not mistaken, are right in front of us right here. And that was your policy that you imposed on these children who do not have the voices just yet to defend themselves. And that's what you guys have done. In the United States Constitution case, Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham, if the state converts a liberty into a privilege, and the liberty of breathing into a privilege, the citizen can engage in the right with impunity. So what we are asking for here is a complete ban of masking children, period. Masking living men, living women, children. No more masks. If the living men and living women adults want to wear these suffocation devices, by all means, go ahead. But do not put these on children. And if and when we submit these masks to labs, they come back and they show diseases, supervisory liability may be imposed for gross negligence. We know our rights. We know the Constitution. We also have the Supreme case laws and other circuit court case laws.
Thank you,
And we will
sir.
use that. I'll let you know when I'm done, buddy.
No, excuse me. You have
No, I'll
3
let you
minutes.
know.
No, you're done as far as I'm concerned.
the
You have 3
servant.
minutes. You could wait.
We the people
You
of the
can
master.
wait at the ending.
The first
to
3
continue.
words of the United States Constitution are "we the people," not "we the government." We are the masters. You are the servant. You have supervisory liability. Ban these masks on these children. God bless you, children, for what you're putting up with.
Are there any other comments? Thank you.
Okay, hi. So I am a parent. I have 2 children in the Wappingers district. So I have a kind of a question and a comment. So I want to say thank you for sending a letter to the governor. I think his lack of a response really is a response. But my question now is, what is the plan when come September, excuse me, over the summer, the dust will settle a little bit and people will kind of not forget, but they'll calm down about the situation. And now come September, what if the governor's options are you put a mask on your kid or you vaccinate them? Now, what is the plan? Because I don't plan on doing either.
We don't have a plan for that at this point. We're waiting until we get that information.
But my question, I guess, is are we going to actually fight that? Or is it going to be mask or vax?
We're going to basically wait until we get the guidance, and then we're going to speak with our legal counsel as we did last time, and we'll make a determination as to how we need to proceed, what the laws are, what the statutes are, what our opportunities are. Again, is this something that's going to be done at the local level? Or is it something that's going to be done at the state level? There, again, a lot of unanswered questions. I understand your concerns. I don't have any answers to that, but I hope that we're provided with some information so that we can take that information and make a determination how we're going to move forward in the near future.
Okay, so I also want to state that at the local level, these kids are playing sports, they're swimming, they're going to birthday parties. We just ourselves took a 3-day trip to Great Wolf Lodge. Nobody wore a mask anywhere in the place. People from all over, all different states, who knows where. And everybody's walking around, everybody's fine. None of us are sick. We've all done well. But yet my daughter was reprimanded today for pulling her mask under her nose after I sent her with a letter to school saying I would no longer like her to wear a mask, in which case now she was put outcasted away from the other children because she had no mask on. which in turn, 12-year-old kid, they're going to put their mask on because they want to sit with their friends. They don't want to be the outcast, which, if she had a different group of friends, that could promote bullying, which would also be on the district. So we're supposed to be anti-bullying, and she was reprimanded, threatened to be sent to the principal's office. So, I have to state that shouldn't be that way. There is no kid that should feel like they've broken a rule for taking their mask
So
off.
if I could just respond, and I'll take the opportunity to. Back on, I believe it was June the 8th, the staff was notified that in the event that a child came in with a note from a parent indicating their child could not wear a mask due to medical reasons, they did not have to wear that.
My child brought that note in. She's got one in her book bag, one in the principal's
Well,
email.
we've been doing that since June 8th. So if that happened, I'd like you to see Ms. Pedro at the end of the meeting and leave your information, and I will certainly follow up with the principal.
I do appreciate that. Just let
You're
me know
welcome.
who Ms. Pedro is.
I'm sorry?
Who's Ms. Pedro? Oh, okay.
She's right
I
there.
will
That's
see
a
her.
district clerk.
Okay. So I'm hopeful that through the summer, we're going to think about what the options are if it comes down to mask or vax. Because it's not their choice whether or not we vaccinate our kids. And I don't plan on giving my 13-year-old a heart attack.
Well, in regards to vaccination, that's a state decision. I have my own personal views on it. I don't have a problem stating them here. I think it should be a personal choice, but that's me.
Right.
I feel confident enough to say that. I chose to get vaccinated because of what I do and the fact that I'm around a lot of people, but that's my choice. If someone else chose not to, that's fine. That should be their choice as well. But as to whether or not that is going to be a regulation, that's going to be a law from New York State. Currently, it's not. Whether or not they're going to add that or not, I have absolutely no idea.
But I think it's up to all of us to fight that. Because if you believe it to be a personal choice, and we believe it to be a personal choice, if we're not all fighting that together for it to be a choice, what is to stop him from saying, okay, you're going to put a mask on your kid, or they're going to mask? Or
President Lumia?
As far as, we can continue the discussion, but this is not, first of all, it's not an agenda item. There's a discussion that can take place at the end of the meeting.
My kids are my only agenda.
I understand. Look, I totally understand your feeling. I really do. And I have grandchildren in the same situation as you are. But the first 30 minutes is supposed to be just on agenda items only. And despite what people say, that's been the regulations since I've been on the board, and the board can decide what to do. But that's basically what we have to follow until such time that it changes. So thank you for your response. You can wait till the end, and please see Ms. Pedro so that the situation can be addressed, all right?
And with that, I do want to say, I understand what you're saying, but as the kids being our own agenda, it should always be on the agenda if there's a public concern about a child. And if you have grandchildren, it should be yours too. Thank you.
Thank you. 6.01, consent agenda resolution. Is there any item from the agenda resolution that you want to remove? Anybody want to remove? Eddie,
6.07.
anything else? Keith, it's all yours.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated: 6.02 an addendum, 6.03 an addendum, 6.04, 6.05, 6.06, 6.08, 6.09, and 6.10.
Motion?
So moved.
Peggy, second. Marie? All right, all those in favor? 6.07.
Let me read that. Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the finalization of the bid contracts as referenced in the June 21st, 2021 bid report.
Motion? Let Marie, second. Keith? Eddie, you got the floor.
Thank you. On this particular item, I just have some comments and then a quick question. Obviously, universal pre-K is now becoming part of the process.
Alberta?
Mr. Holmes read the board resolution. Can he reread that, please? To the record.
You want me to read 607?
7.01.
7.01.
No, 6.07. 6.07, I think it is.
Yeah, okay,
I'm sorry.
we pulled 6.07.
All right. The resolution was read. Eddie?
Thank you. Obviously, universal pre-K is now another, hot topic. So just some comments and then a quick question. We have so many after school, before school daycare businesses within our district boundaries. I'm not to say that I was a little upset, concerned, the fact that we only received a small amount of bids. And I don't know if it was because of just the fact that no one was interested, or something a little bit more on my mind is the fact that since, again, powers that be, federal government and state, rushed something, and whether or not these businesses were actually prepared and had the time to prepare to put some type of, game plan together, evaluate where their staff was, and things of that nature, where it may have, some of these businesses may have been very hesitant about submitting proposals because they just can't handle. Now, we have, I think it was 272 slots available. And trying to spread that out through the district. So again, I don't know whether they were prepared or not, because this is a bit of a rush implementation. And there's some very solid businesses out there that unfortunately did not submit a bid. And I thank those that did, so that they will be able to offer this to some of the students. So again, those are just my comments. Again, it's just, this could something that's rushed. And if that is the case, and I don't know if Dr. Caldwell or Dr. Bonk, you can answer this. It doesn't have to be an answer for now. But the question being is, if some of these local businesses are able next year, if we don't get enough businesses to hold the 272 slots, our funding is going to be reduced, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Dr. Cardwell, she'll come up to address your concerns.
So what would happen next year if we'll have more students and more businesses say, well, now I'm ready to help? Are we committed to just this one number? Do we have an option to increase? And then obviously moving forward, what happens? So I don't know if she has that information. I just wanted to put that out there. It's just a concern that I had. So if she can just clear that up a little bit, if she knows, that would be great just to share with everybody.
So good evening, everyone. I don't have specific information on why we only received the number of bids that we did. Only a few of the agencies called to let us know that they were not going to submit a bid, either because they weren't interested or because the funding that they receive from the grant is lower than what they need to actually run their program. So we haven't done outreach to find out what they would need in order to submit a bid. If we feel we need to reopen the RFP to get additional providers for future years, we have that option to do so. That would be up to us to decide based upon what we currently have. We have 227 spots for UPK students. Currently, we have enough sites to cover those spots, and we will be providing the board with additional information on the program by the end of the week.
Thank you, Dr. Caldwell. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because again, it was a hot topic for the community. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Cardwell. I also wondered, Mr. Slowshower, and it seems to me that from my experience as a mother and a grandmother taking children to preschools, that the programs are generally either a 2.5 to 3 hour program, a half-day program, or a full-day program that would include before and after school on the if the parents need the daycare. And the 5-hour block seems quite unusual because it's not typical of any private program that I know of run in the area. So I would suspect that they probably lack staff and space to do this and to completely redo their whole program on such short notice. So I was wondering whether this 5-hour program is typical across the state, and if other places do this, and if that's, a standard thing that the state does, or is this something new, that it's this particular number of hours that doesn't match what's being offered currently privately?
So the state has several programs that they run through funding. For the funding source for the money that we receive, the universal pre-K, the regulations do state that we have to run a full day, minimum 5-hour program for the students. There are additional funding that could be used for a half day, but this funding that we received required us to do a minimum of 5 hours.
Thank you.
Any other questions? That being said, all in favor? Thank you. New business 7.01, approval to adopt the 2021-2022 Code of Conduct and Attendance Policy. Heath?
Be it resolved that the board hereby adopts policy 5300 Code of Conduct for the 2021-2022 school year. And be it further resolved that the board hereby adopts policy number 5500, attendance effective July 1st, 2021. As stated, the Code of Conduct and attendance policy will be disseminated to all staff, students, and parents, legal guardians, with instructions that the policies and rules therein must be reviewed and adhered to.
Motion? Peggy? Supervisor Johnson? Any discussion?
Right there, right? Ms. Trustee Cahill.
Carrie?
My discussion is surrounding page 11 and the word perceived. When it pertains to persons that may be offended in this particular situation. Perceived in that maybe, I don't have a 5-year-old anymore, but when I taught my kids that the fire on the stove would burn their hand, it was quite binary. It was this or it was that. Fire's not safe. It's this or it's that. It's black or it's white. And I think that 5-year-olds see many, many things that way. And perception leaves room for physical boundaries to be skewed and things to be very subjective. So I guess I don't understand that particular piece.
I wish I gave you an answer, but all of us, for at least 2 months, were asked to comment about the community, as well as the board has to comment on any part of the Code of Conduct. We've had over 2 months to put our input. I really can't give you an answer to that unless somebody can address it. I can't address it. Darren, can you please address that?
Assistant Superintendent Lokema, could you address that, please? Thank you.
I don't have the exact paragraph in front of me, but any language in there regarding DASA or in the introduction of DASA, it comes right from the legal language of the DASA legislation of the state's website. So we take that language because we're referencing DASA and we put it into there because that's what is the law of the land.
Any other comments? Out there said, all in favor? All opposed? All right, thank you. 7.02, approval of BOCES installation purchase agreement.
Resolved that the Wapaja Central School District approve a contract with the Dutchess County BOCES for the acquisition of a computer technology hardware, software, and related equipment through a 4-year installment purchase agreement commencing in 2021-2022 school year with a maximum total principal cost of $502,200, and be it further resolved that the Wapaja Central School District will pay the Dutchess County BOCES through its regular monthly bill cycle over the 4-year period to commence during the 2021-2022 school year.
Motion. Peggy, second. Marie Johnson. Any discussion? All those in favor?
John, quick question.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know.
Gary?
I just typically, on an annual basis, updating the equipment, so on and so forth. Is that standard more than $500,000? It's not exorbitant and it's absolute, they're not antiquated? I mean, are they antiquated, the devices?
No, well, okay. Superintendent Darren?
So the way we do a 4-year loan through BOCES every year, we keep the budget line itself flat. And so over the years, we do, the loan amount may be different based on that year's funding or what have you. So this amount is based on a certain portion of a certain amortization schedule coming due and the amount of principal we have available. It's never probably enough to satisfy the needs of the technology in all our classrooms. So the nice thing though about this is an allocation, for example, a piece of it is a bunch of network equipment, a lot of switches, which are very expensive, that are past end of life, that is, we're getting at a very good cost. And the way it's working is BOCES, in this case, is working with us. We're using a federal E-rate program as an example. So we're doing about $250,000 worth of switches, but the E-rate program gives us an upfront discount of 50%. We get 50% reimbursement back for that purchase. And then, but instead of us actually paying $250 up front, the vendor is going to take that difference and only charge us like $136. And then on top of that, we'll get BOCES 8 on it, which is 46 cents on the dollar. So we're getting $250,000 worth of network equipment for about $75,000, which is a great deal for us as just an example of, so yes, we're spending a lot of money, but we're doing it in a fiscally responsible way. There's a bulk of it is also going to be replacement desktop computers, which unfortunately is necessary. They're going to replace some of our older ones in the fleet, which are more than 8 years old. And if there's nothing more frustrating than trying to fire up a computer that takes 15 minutes to do anything when you have a classroom full of kids looking at you. So it's always important to keep a hardware refresh cycle going. So this sort of feeds into that process as well. So it is an annual reoccurrence. The dollar amount varies based on the amount of principal we have available in our amortization loan payments.
Thank you for your response and your former response as well. And I did read the breakdown, equipment by equipment by equipment. I saw that desktop computers were a piece of that. But I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Darren. 8.01, Lieutenant. Oh, got that. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay. 8.01, any requests for addition to the agenda by anyone? All right. Next item. Comments from the public. All right. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Marie, second. All those in favor? Thank you. Linda, don't forget your gown and as well as your present.
The best Father's Day weekend ever.
That's all right.
Yeah.